Lindsay, thanks for joining Westpac Wire on the day of the AGM.
Pleasure, Michael.
Now, Lindsay, understandably, a lot of questions at the moment and discussion about the Royal Commission. Do you think now you've seen the terms of reference and the time frame that perhaps it reduces some of the risks that you've previously spoken about?
Yeah, I think my reaction to the terms of reference is they've done a good job. So I was particularly worried, as you know beforehand, that the whole Royal Commission might go to the heart of the credibility of the system and the stability of the system. But I was really pleased to see that right up front, then the commentary was this is about alleged misconduct in the sector, and that's against a background of a really strong and stable system, not just by Australian standards but by world standards. So I think that was really important, and I think having the investigation into the financial services sector and to components of that over and above just the big four banks was a positive move as well.
And you've just been speaking to shareholders after the meeting. What else have they been asking you about, and has it changed much over the years, the discussion you typically have with shareholders?
Yeah, no, it doesn't. And if you think about the questions at the AGM, a lot on remuneration, pay for executives, both absolute amounts of pay and how we calculate it. The NGOs, as you know, unashamedly use the AGM as a forum to push their issues because of our great record on sustainability and where we stand on with our climate change position statement, our human rights position statement. For me as chairman, they're very easy questions to answer because we're in such a good spot on all of that. So there's those issues. As you say, there's a little bit of Royal Commission today as well. And I think today, which was a good thing, there was a fair bit about financials. So people interested in our capital ratios, what we're going to do with capital management, those sorts of things. So that's a good thing.
And speaking of capital, it's obviously related to dividends, which are always important for shareholders. I've been interested in the debate from some analysts talking about how it's sort of going from how much banks how much they need to raise, but now it's talking about how much they might return in a couple of years' time. Do you think they're getting a bit ahead of themselves?
That's exactly the expression I was going to use, Michael. I think they're getting a bit ahead of themselves, and that question, of course, was asked from the floor today, which good on them for asking it. But yes, if you think about, well, two things really. We're not at the end of the capital raising journey yet, so literally overnight, as you know, Basel IV has come out, so APRA has to look at that and then interpret that and then apply that to us. Now, we don't think that's going to have a major impact on capital, but the point is the capital journey hasn't finished yet. But let's say there's even no impact from that, then we're only just into sort of the range that we would like to be now in terms of unquestionably strong. So I think you'll see quite a few 6-month periods go by before we start to think about anything going back to shareholders.
And changing topic, some big news out of your hometown of Melbourne this week was Amazon starting in Australia. There's been a lot of talk of whether the big technology players will come into financial services. Do you think the level of regulation, compliance and overall scrutiny on the sector might actually dissuade a bit of that?
Yeah, I think it's a real barrier to entry. Having said that, these large technology platforms are omnipresent, as we know. So I think we feel particularly vulnerable in banking around transactions and payments in particular, and of course Apple Pay is there already and so on. So I think that's already happened to us. The whole concept of accepting deposits from individuals and from corporates and then on lending them, that's not beyond them, but that's difficult given all the regulation around it. But as I say, I think we work on the basis they'll want to come in and then take it back from there in terms of how we position ourselves to compete.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining Westpac Wire.
Pleasure, Michael. Thank you.